So what is perimeter? Perimeter is the total distance around a shape, starting at any random point. Here's a point. If we were to walk around this figure, that total distance would be the perimeter. Starting at a random point is not a great idea, so let's start at one of the vertices. Suppose this shape had different side lengths. The distance walking around the entire shape would be just adding all the sides together. Now, if these sides were centimeters, we would put 39 centimeters as an answer. Or maybe they're inches or miles or light years. We don't know. If no units are given at all, we just call them 39 units as the perimeter. There are formulas for different shapes to find perimeter, but the formulas aren't very useful because perimeter has one thing in common. You simply add up all the sides to get it. So no formula is really needed. Here's a writing prompt that'll help you understand what you just saw. Let's talk perimeter of a circle. Here's a circle. The perimeter would be the total distance around the edge, just like any other shape. Here's the center of a circle. The distance to the edge is called a radius. Circles have infinitely many radii. There's one, here's another one, and there's infinitely many of them. But of course, they all have the same length. Suppose our circle had a radius of 6 centimeters, and we wanted to find the perimeter. There's a formula for the perimeter of a circle. Here it is. Now pi is 3.14, etc., but we don't usually use the actual number for pi. We leave our answers in terms of pi. So that's a number you may have used in middle school, but you won't use in high school. Let's work out this problem. 6 is the radius. I can rearrange the order of multiplication. Now again, if this were middle school, you would replace pi with the decimal equivalent and multiply it all out and get an answer. That's not what we do in high school. Rather, we multiply the 2 times the 6, and then when it comes to figuring out what 12 times pi is, it's just 12 pi, not simplifiable, and therefore we leave the pi in our answer for perimeter. Perimeter is also called circumference when you're talking about a circle. In fact, nobody ever says perimeter of a circle. We've reserved the word circumference to mean just that. We often call it capital C, and so that would be a way to express an answer to this question. In this formula, you'll notice that it has the word radius. We often use r instead of radius, and for the multiplication signs, we don't typically write those either. In summary, the perimeter of a circle is also called its circumference, and there's the formula. And here's a writing prompt to help you with what you just saw. Next, let's talk about area. To understand area, you have to know what a square unit is. If I have a square that's 1 by 1, then we call that a square unit. If it's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, we say that it is a square centimeter. We often write it this way. If these were each 1 inch, we would have a square inch. If these were miles, we would have a square mile. If these are just 1 and no particular units are listed, we would say that this is a square unit without specifying, and we would write it this way. Area is how many square units you can fit inside of a shape. So this rectangle, you'll notice I can fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 square units in it, so we say that its area is 6 square units. But the square units don't have to fit perfectly. This triangle also has an area. Now physically, I can only fit 2 square units into this triangle without going past the edges. But it turns out it has an area of 4 square units because of all this additional pink area that you see here. How do you find the area of a triangle? That's for a later lesson. Circle. How many square units are inside the circle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, I can't fit any more full square units in there, but even though 7 is the number you can see, this area is actually more like 12 and a half. Why? Because all of the additional area adds up to extra. Now, there are area formulas, and we'll talk about those in another lesson, but that's really all you need to know about area for now. It is the number of square units on the inside of a shape. And finally, here's a writing prompt to help you understand what you just saw.